The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. Nascar, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your host, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Indeed, the gang is all here back in studio this week and kind of showing a little bit my history of being in this particular industry of broadcasting. Back in the 1970s, David Bowie had a big song called Changes. This week's proves that, well, that's pretty much the only constant in life and motorsports, as it appears. So with that noted, on this week's edition, we got changes to NASCAR's television deals. We've got changes to Alpine's hierarchy. We've got a change in the fans' opinion of at least one Cup driver. Texas Motor Speedway is changing Big Hoss. If you don't know what Big Hoss is, we'll tell you all about it. Got a possible change in the driver lineup of the Superstar Racing Experience. Got a change in the look of one team's cars in Formula E for the final race of the season. And the ratings for Indycar on NBC are changing too. Is it for the better? We'll give you all those details, all those changes, and oh, so much more on the Championship Racing Network.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Four tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Good morning to you. I'm Steve West, producer John is back in studio this weekend, and of course, I'm joined in studio by co-host Matt Nicholson. So we got everybody in studio. We're back. Hopefully, that means no video lag. But thank you very much, John. Thank you very much, John. You did a great job working with technology, which can be fickle, as we all know. Thank you for joining us, and wow, what a busy weekend last weekend. Let's get into the recaps real quick. Beginning with the Craftsman Truck Series, it all came down to a battle between series regular Corey Heim and moonlighter Kyle Busch in his last available race in moonlighting this season in the Truck Series, but looking for a milestone win. Busch was on Heim's tail as the laps wound down, but it seems like he was just kind of waiting to pounce, and as it turns out, he was. On the final lap, made his move in turn 2, the tunnel turn of Pocono, cruised away from Heim, bested him by over 6/10 at the checkers. That marked win number 100 for Kyle Busch Motorsports, something we'll dive into more a little bit later. Busch, Heim, then Taylor Gray, Christopher Bell, Grant Enfinger, Ty Majeski, Christian Eckes, Dean Thompson, Ben Rhodes, Matt DiBenedetto making up the top 10 there. That means, obviously, with the Moonlighter claiming a win, no new automatic playoff qualifiers. Heim, Zane Smith, Grant Enfinger, Christian Eckes, Carson Hocevar, those are the guys in with 2 wins. Ben Rhodes is in with his single win. So there are 4 slots left. And by the way, did we realize that this is already the final week of the regular season for the Craftsman Truck Series? It is. It's now or never, boys and girls. Those that are in on points, Ty Majeski leads that. Matt DiBenedetto's there. Nick Sanchez, Matt Crafton. Crafton's got a 9-point edge over Stuart Friesen. For those trying to get in on points, obviously somebody could upset the apple cart if they were to claim a win, as long as they're full-time.
Yeah. This wide gap in the Truck Series schedule, that's one part of this I don't like. Regular season ended in July, and then you seems like you get 2 months before you have the first round that ends.
I know. So weird.
Yeah, it is.
But, hey, we're not the ones in charge of scheduling. To the Indycar Series, they were next, running race 1 of 2 of the weekend at Iowa Speedway. Being an oval track, all eyes were on Joseph Newgarden because he came in having won at Texas and at Indy, and, well, all eyes were on him for a good reason because, well, it looked like he was pretty much toying with the field at times. He led a race high at 129 of the 250 laps run, claimed the win by more than 3 seconds. Scott McLaughlin came home second, could not do anything with Newgarden, basically, when all was said and done. He did get close in the final 10, 15 laps, closed in to within about a second, and then all of a sudden, Joseph Newgarden said, oh, yeah, watch this. Bye. So, yeah. Rest of your top 10, third place Pato Award, Marcus Ericsson, Will Power, Scott Dixon, Kyle Kirkwood, Alex Pillow, Takuma Sato, Alexander Rossi, and since there was a second race, we'll deal with the standings after that. That takes us back to Pennsylvania Xfinity Series at Pocono Raceway. It was the race between Austin Hill and Josh Berry and Sunoco for the win. Hill overcame an early pit road speeding penalty to get back up front with Berry in an overtime start. It gave Berry a good push on the final restart. And then when Berry got loose, he took the opening and beat the day's most dominant driver to claim the win. Sam Mayer ended up second, trailed by the Moonlighter Chase Elliott. Riley Earpst then also in the top 5 along with Daniel Hemrick. Then you got Sammy Smith, Brandon Jones, Brett Moffitt, Parker Kligerman, and another Moonlighter in Daniel Suarez. Josh Berry got so bad off he fell to 24th. Hill's 4th win of the year puts him even with John Hunter Nemechek leading the series. Then 2 wins for Cole Custer. Single-time winners Justin Allgaier, Chandler and Sammy Smith, and Jeb Burton. They're all locked in. Time's running out here as well, although they're not in their final regular season weekend. 5 are in on points at this time, led by a frustrated Cup driver in waiting in Josh Berry. He was not happy after that.
No.
Daniel Hemrick, Sam Mayer, Sheldon Creed, Riley Earpst. Earpst stubbornly continues to hang on to that final slot. It's slowly growing back up. It's now 26 points over Parker Kligerman for 12th place in the points, but not what anyone would call comfortable at this point in time.
Not even close.
Sunday begins with racing in Hungary for Formula One. For Red Bull, it was a record breaker. They set a new record for most consecutive races won. They're now up to 12 straight. That bested the previous record of 11 set by McLaren in 1988. We'll get back into that coming up in Formula One news. To no one's surprise, Max Verstappen was the guy who claimed the win. Said win marked win number 9 of those 11. And for both team and driver, it ain't over yet. Verstappen basically slapped the field around and played with him like a cat playing with a dead mouse. Second place, Lando Norris by 33 seconds. Let me repeat that. First to second, 33-second gap. Then the other Red Bull of Sergio Perez claimed third. Lewis Hamilton, Oscar Piastri, George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll making up the top 10. Three-time champion and waiting Verstappen extends his already ridiculous points lead, now 281 to 171 over his own teammate, Sergio Perez, and then Fernando Alonso is next at 139. Lewis Hamilton's up to 133, so the race for third is on. George Russell's got 90. And then you got, from the ridiculous to the ludicrous, the Constructors' Cup advantage for 2023 Constructors' Cup champion and waiting Red Bull is now a gap of 452 to 223 over Mercedes.
Yeah, they're going to lose. That was sarcasm.
Uh-huh. Aston Martin sits at 184, 167 for Ferrari. So I guess the battle for third's on. Mercedes is kind of separating themselves out even from Aston Martin. I don't know. We'll find out. Then you drop all the way down to 87 for McLaren. Alpine, oh, can't wait to get back to them, at 47. Haas and F1 are tied at 11. Alfa Romeo 9. And AlphaTauri's got 2. So much for Daniel Ricciardo coming in and being the savior.
At least it's not 0.
That's true. Back to Iowa for the second race of the weekend for IndyCar. And, well, if once is good, 2 must be great. Okay. Well, that was Joseph Newgarden's, I should say, viewpoint as he claimed the sweep of the weekend. Wasn't as dominant in race number 2, less than a second over second-place finisher and teammate Will Power. It was really only that close, however, due to a late race caution that bunched the field up for the final dash. Newgarden, Power, Alex Palou, your top 3. Felix Rosenqvist, Scott McLaughlin fill out the top 5. Scott Dixon, Colton Herta, David Malukas. Marcus Ericsson and Pato O'Ward fill out the top 10. Palou's lead, which was triple digits in the points heading into the weekend, is now cut down to 80 over Joseph Newgarden, 477 to 397. We'll deal with some kind of scenarios in IndyCar news in a bit. Scott Dixon's got 357, 330 for Marcus Ericsson. Scott McLaughlin's in 5th, 329, tied with Pato O'Ward. Marcus Armstrong continues to lead the rookie points, 156 to 132 over Augustin Canapino. Stingray Robb up to 92 and 90 for Benjamin Peterson. So basically it's who's going to finish first and second, and then who will finish third and fourth.
Pretty much.
Pocono hosted the Cup Series next. 2 incidents that we're going to get into during the news. That guy right there has got plenty to talk about when it comes to them.
I'm going to go scorched earth on both of them.
I can't wait. One of them, however, turned into the winning move for Denny Hamlin. Hamlin and Kyle Larson pulling away from the field on a restart with 7 laps left. Hamlin crowded Larson coming off of turn 1, actually bumped him. Yes, you did, Denny. As they were side by side. Again, we'll get back into that shortly. Pushed Larson into the outside wall. Hamlin went on to survive a final caution, claims a milestone 50th win for him in his career, which we'll detail later, too. Hamlin wins, leading Tyler Reddick, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, Ty Gibbs, Christopher Bell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Harrison Burton, Eric Jones, and Chase Elliott to the checkered flag. Larson had to limp home 20th, just to be clear. William Byron continues to lead the way in the playoff standings with 4 wins. He got 3 wins for Martin Truex Jr. and Kyle Busch. 2 wins now for Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson. Yeah, those 2 are going to be paired up for the rest of the year. I can see it coming. Single wins for Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. That means 11 of your 16 playoff spots are locked up. It's still early in the morning, ladies and gentlemen.
It is.
The other 5 are led by Kevin Harvick. Then you got Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace, and Michael McDowell. McDowell sits a fairly uncomfortable 17 points to the good over A.J. Allmendinger for that final playoff position. Yeah, I did say A.J. Allmendinger. He sits in 17th. And what do we got between now and the end of the year? Oh, that's right. At least one more road course, which A.J. Allmendinger specializes in. Then there's Daniel Suarez, who's only 6 points behind Allmendinger. Another 5 back of that is Ty Gibbs. So, yeah, things are not easy if you're sitting 16th in points. Finally, the NHRA out west in Seattle. This was stop number 2 on their West Coast swing, the Northwest Nationals. In Top Fuel, the final duel came down to between Doug Kalitta and Steve Torrence. Neither especially quick off the light. Slight advantage to Torrence. He got the win. Kalitta started to lose traction, shut it down. Torrence claims the win with his 3.94 ET at 289.26 miles per hour. 54th win of his career, but amazingly enough, the first win for him this year.
That's been a little bit surprising.
Anybody have that on their bingo card?
Nope.
J.R. Todd and Tim Wilkerson yeah, let's try that again. J.R. Todd and Tim Wilkerson paired off in the funny car finals. Wilkerson got a bit of a jump at the light, paid off at the other end. 4.007 ET, 321.96 miles per hour, notching his second win of 2023 and 24th of his career to date. Pro Stock Car was off last weekend, but Pro Stock Motorcycle ran the finals, saw Eddie Krawick taking on the seeming master of the division this year, Gage Herrera. Herrera, much quicker on the reaction time. He claims the win with a 6.764 ET, 198.99 miles per hour. All of his wins have come this year. All 5 of them. Kid's on it. I don't know what's going on, but something in the water over at the Herrera shop. With his win, Steve Torrance, who has won the Top Fuel Division title 4 different times, is back in the Top Fuel points lead, but only by 4 points over Justin Ashley. Leah Pruitt's 136 back. You got Brittany Force 137 down. Austin Prock 167 behind. Yeah, we only deal with the top 5. What do you want? Matt Hagan continues to lead Funny Car, but his first round bow out dropped his advantage down to 17 over Ron Capps. Alexis Chajoria is 120 back. Robert Height 129 out. And 130 out of first is Chad Green. Gage Herrera's win has him a kind of stupid 266 points up on second place Hector Arana Jr. Then Eddie Krawick 313 down. Matt and Angie Smith both sit tied at 347 out. Shoo.
All right, here's the official challenge for the end of the year. Who wins the title by more points, Max Verstappen or Gage Herrera?
At this point in time, it's a toss-up.
Yeah, it's a literal quarter flip.
Yep. Final race of the week happened in Virginia at the Motor Mile Speedway in Radford or Pulaski Park, whichever one you prefer. I like Motor Mile. It just sounds better.
It does.
After the 2 heat races, Tony Stewart was on the pole for the main feature, remained up front pretty much all race, but it was first-time SRX racer Kyle Busch who literally muscled his way to the front, bumped a couple of drivers out of his way, and got by, or in the case of one driver, spinning him out. Clint Boyer started the main in the back, but found something that the other drivers didn't try until it was too late. But he couldn't advance any further, so he finishes second. We'll detail exactly what it was that Clint was dealing with later. Busch wins in his SRX debut. Boyer, Stewart make up the top 3, trailed by Brad Keselowski, Ryan Newman, Elio Castroneves, Bobby Labonte, Haley Deegan, Marco Andretti, Paul Tracy, Joseph Newgarden, and Ken Schrader. 2 of those 3 we'll talk about a lot more when it comes to SRX news. Ryan Newman leads the standings amongst the full-time racers, 105. Marco Andretti sits 21 back. 24 down is Tony Stewart. Brad Keselowski, Paul Tracy, and Bobby Labonte are tied at 33 back. Ken Schrader and Haley Deegan sit 40 and 44 out, respectively. Tell you what, it's been a quick first segment. Let's get ourselves on time here. Let's go ahead and take break number 1. When we come back, we'll detail this weekend's racing, which, by the way, will begin fairly early today as we air live. It will be another busy weekend. So, yeah, we'll fill you in on all the details there. And then we'll lead off our news with really big news and potentially leading off for the first time ever with the Xfinity Series. Have we ever done that? I don't remember it if we have.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show here as we got started a little bit late. We apologize for that, but we'll make it up. Trust us. We know how to do things fairly quickly. We're a racing show. This weekend, starting the schedule-wise, the final weekend of the Formula E season, race 1 of the Hankook London E-Prix. Again, doubleheader weekend. This one will air on CBS, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time today as we air live. It'll run on the 20-turn Excel circuit. It's an indoor-outdoor course on the riverfront, about 1.29 miles long, so might actually be fairly interesting. Might have to check into that and see what it looks like. I don't get the CBS Sports Network, so it'll be my one opportunity. Then the Xfinity Series will head to Road America. They're going to run the Road America 180 on the 14-turn, 4.04-mile-long course in Wisconsin. Chi-Town Mark going? MRN and NBC have the coverage of the race, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time. Under the Lights in Richmond Raceway, airing as we air live tonight. Craftsman Truck Series going to run the Worldwide Express 250 on Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. MRN is split wide and far this weekend.
They are.
Sunday's racing begins with the MSC Cruises Belgian Grand Prix, 19 turns, 4.34 miles long. It's the Spa-Francorchamps course. It'll air on ESPN beginning just before 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. Then we go back to London. That'll be the season finale in the crowning race for Formula E, race number 2 of the Hankook London E-Prix doubleheader weekend. Same course as race number 1. For whatever reason, they'll throw race 1 on the CBS network, but they won't put the defining race that'll settle the championship on CBS. I don't know. Anyway, CBS Sports Network, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time. I'm telling you, these television networks need to talk to us about scheduling. Anyway,
let's just for fun, let's just see what they've got in place on CBS.
Go for it. Meantime,
Let's just see here.
Cup Series going next. Cookout 400 at Richmond Raceway. That'll be on USA and MRN Radio beginning 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Time, with the final event of the weekend being the NHRA's Denso Sonoma Nationals, third and final leg of the West Coast Swing. It'll be at Sonoma Raceway in California wine country, live on Fox beginning 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Time. IndyCar is the only series that we cover on a regular basis that is off this weekend. But let's not forget the SRX Series. They're going to run race 4 of their third season, 4 out of 6. Wow, we're already at that point. It'll be at Berlin Raceway in Michigan. Jeff Striegel from Motor Racing Network owns that track. ESPN Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Time. So there's your schedule of the series that we cover.
Let's see.
How's CBS
here? It'll put me on the right date. Here we go.
That always helps.
Yeah, it does. Face the Nation and local programming. 12 p.m., you got the PBR Camping World Team Series Cheyenne Frontier Days.
Yawn.
Yeah.
So you chose to put local programming and rodeo on instead of a title clinching race.
Yeah.
Way to be committed to Formula E there, CBS.
Yep.
Now we know why CBS might not be a player when it comes
consider-
to getting back into the racing things.
Consider this is the day I'm going scorched earth on a lot of things. I'm going to go ahead and start it off with a little bit of an appetizer here.
Sure.
To NASCAR and whoever runs the website and the app for the content that goes out on there.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me a legitimate explanation as to why? And this goes out to Fox Sports as well.
Open
as to
letter. Okay.
why you would not have practice and qualifying televised for your regular season ending race, nor not only for the Truck Series, but for the Xfinity Series as well, not having a link to show live timing and scoring online. You cannot tell me you don't have the resources to do so. Case in point, you didn't have the resources at Mid-Ohio to have scanner feeds and audio feeds like you do at every other race. You didn't have the capability to do it because it was a standalone. Give me a break.
Yeah, the technology's there. It's not that hard. All right, let's get into some news here, and this one's the biggest one, and I can't promise this, but, I mean, we've been doing this show now for well over a decade.
Hey, John's workload just got heavier.
Yeah. I don't know, but this might be the first time we've ever let off with the Xfinity Series. If it's not the first, it's one of the few rare times it has. I mean, we could probably count it less than this number right here.
Right.
Just saying. But hey, when you have a new TV deal, it does seem the right place to start. That's right. We have a new TV deal for NASCAR. But it also shows that NASCAR is willing to do plenty of different things from what they've been doing in the past. For example, it seems like we've always had Xfinity and Cup kind of connected together. No. The Xfinity Series has a television rights deal all its own now. And when the new deal comes in, it means that they will switch from the combo of Fox in the first half of the year and NBC after the 2024 season and begin a new 7-year deal with a network that John and I are quite familiar with, the CW. Huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was an eyebrow raiser, wasn't it?
This is shades of when the then nationwide series was solely on ESPN.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which it was not a bad thing, in my opinion.
For those of you that don't know, the CW network is the 5th of 5 over-the-air networks when it comes to the number of viewers. But they've got new owners here over the last couple of years in Nexstar, and they seem very interested in changing that particular ranking by taking something of a page out of what Fox did. When Fox was attempting to establish their own legitimacy as a network, you might remember they swooped in and they claimed the broadcast rights for the National Football Conference of the National Football League back in the 1990s, which really just launched them into the public view and made them a legitimate fourth network to ABC, NBC, and CBS. No, I'm not including PBS. I'm sorry, I'm not. The CW, you may or may not have realized, has begun their own sports division.
Yes, they have.
Remember we talked about 100 Days to Indy earlier this year? Well, they've still got that. They snapped up the rights to the somewhat controversial Live Golf. They have added a package, John, get prepared for this, for college football and basketball games for the ACC that begins, I believe, this year.
It does.
They pulled Inside the NFL away from its premier cable homes, which used to be on HBO and then Showtime, now going to the CW. Expect the CW, as they say, to show all practice and all qualifying sessions in addition to the races. So John's workload, as Matt just hinted to, just got a little bit bigger.
That's all right. It's all OT, baby.
Now
it's all OT, number one. And number two, that means job security for a guy that runs Master Control.
There you go.
I say we're familiar with it. I was once an employee at the CW Birmingham affiliate, too.
Here is where the CW has a prime opportunity to get back the voices that have been on broadcasts for years that were kind of shoved to the wayside.
Yeah. This is, I mean, CW has a really, really good opportunity here to really establish themselves. Because, I mean, no disrespect to Live Golf. The ACC is kind of big, especially in basketball. But, you know, when it comes to football, Clemson's there. Florida State gets good viewership. So does Miami. But you can find good college football and basketball people. Finding people that really know how to deal with racing on a regular basis, not as easy. And like he said, like Matt just said, there's a chance for you to go out there and grab some established names that have kind of been shoved away and bring them back.
Matt Yoakum is one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Vince Welch is number 2.
Love to see that.
I would say your host, pre-race host, you would you would be dumb to not bring Lindsey Zarniak back.
She was the first name I thought of, right as you were mentioning it.
But your play-by-play, that is a no-brainer. Use your mind, kids. That is a no-brainer. It's Alan Bestwick or bust.
And he could do it.
And if he can't do it,
here's the thing.
If he can't, Vince Welch.
I would be shocked if he couldn't. I mean, no disrespect. I mean, ESPN has him, and he's great. He does a fantastic job on the SRX series. That's on Thursday nights. For the foreseeable future, that's on Thursday nights. Mm-hmm. You can easily take that and still work for the CW and go wherever Xfinity is that particular weekend.
If for other scheduling that he may have going on. Because he does do college basketball games for the Northeast.
Yeah.
But if he can't, I say Vince Welch is number 2 in line.
There you go. And Just to let you know, we're available. Just throwing it out there.
Go radio style.
Oh, sure.
I'll call in a turn.
Yeah. SS Greenlight Racing trying everything that they can when it comes to putting what they hope are, competitive drivers in their cars, or at least giving drivers a chance. The latest from the team is a 4-race deal with Catherine Legg. Huh? Mm. Yeah. Huh. Catherine comes over, better known, obviously, for her IndyCar and sports car exploits. Got a 4-race deal, begins later today as we air live. She'll drive the 07 Chevrolet Camaro at Road America. She'll also drive the car for the team at Indianapolis on the road course. She'll be back for Watkins Glen, and her final race is at least planned to be the Charlotte Roval. Earlier this year, you might remember, she qualified a Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan entry into the famed Indy 500 that marked her first start in that series and that race in a decade. In the meantime, she's been racing IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. She's been running for Gradient Racing, driving their number 66 Acura NSX in the GT3 division. She does have 4 Xfinity Series starts to her credit, but it's been 5 years because all of those 4 starts came back in 2018 with JD Motorsports. Her best finish did come at Road America, where she finished 14th. Thoughts?
The Cottonfield clan give her a 14th place finish. And yes, I'm talking about JD Motorsports because their shop is literally in the middle of a cotton field in Gaffney, South Carolina.
What does this do for, let's talk about it from both angles. First of all, what does this move do for SS Greenlight Racing?
It gives them hope for a top 15.
Okay. What does this do for Catherine Legg?
It gives her hope for a top 20. Don't know. Practice and qualifying didn't go all that well yesterday because they had some mechanical issues they dealt with.
Yeah, gotta get that fixed.
Check the starting lineup, see where she's starting.
Okay. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to ask here is, with her experience in notably sports cars, because we've talked about the basic correlation between sports cars and what NASCAR does. Obviously, a little bit more than her IndyCar heritage. Can she bring anything to SS Greenlight Racing that they didn't already know?
For the road course program, yes.
Which obviously that's what they have her in there for those 4 races.
She's starting 24th tomorrow.
Okay.
Which she was only 5 seconds off the pole pace. Which at a
4-mile course is not horrible.
To which AJ Allmendinger broke the track record by 3 seconds.
Right.
3.
So all things being equal, this is something that could, in my mind, no disrespect to Catherine Legg, this could benefit SS Greenlight Racing more than it could benefit her.
True. That's a fair statement.
Okay.
Very fair.
All right. While he goes over there and polishes up his soapbox, let's give you the details as we turn our attention to the Cup Series and we get ready to start showing pictures. If you're watching on CRN Live on YouTube, which you can too. Go to YouTube, type in CRN Live, hit subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have, tell a friend, or
20,000.
Please. Denny Hamlin claimed a couple of milestones with his win on Sunday. First, he broke a tie with 3-time Cup champion Tony Stewart with his 50th win. At the same time, claimed Toyota's 600th win in NASCAR competition. He also passed 4-time Cup champion Jeff Gordon when he claimed his 7th win at Pocono, the winningest Cup driver at Pocono. There's the good side of it. Here comes the flip side of that coin. It wasn't all about celebrating. When Hamlin got out and was trying to celebrate at the start-finish line, he was roundly booed and was booed pretty much all throughout the post-race interview. Hamlin got into Larson, as noted in the picture that you're about to see on CRN Live, courtesy of WBWM Television. Pushed Larson out to where he slapped the wall. Larson said after the race on pit road, quote, "I've never had to apologize to him," talking about Hamlin, "about anything I've ever done on the racetrack. I can count 4 or 5 times where he had to reach out to me. At some point, you've got to start racing people a certain way to get the respect back." Well, Hamlin said in his post-race press conference in the media center that he didn't think he had even touched Larson. Let's get back to that picture there, John, if you don't mind. Let's bring that picture back up. That picture right there, that shows that contact was made.
It shows it all.
Now, I'll give Denny Hamlin slight credit. You're the driver, though. Driver's seat is certainly not in the middle of the car.
Nope.
Driver's seat's driver's seat. In America, it's over on the left-hand side of the car as you're sitting in the cockpit.
Right.
He's talking about having hit with the right side door panel.
Mm-hmm.
He says he couldn't feel it. He didn't feel like he had hit Kyle Larson's car.
I can agree with him. I can see where he's coming from.
All right. I mean, it's not bad. We certainly didn't see tire smoke out of it. I've watched several action replays of it. It's not they didn't go tire to tire. No tire smoke came out of there. Whatever the bump was, it was that. It was just that. It was just nice, easy, but it was enough as you're going through turn one, and as you see, they're only a couple of lanes away from the wall in turn one. Larson goes into the wall. And that, as we noted, ended his day competitively. Any chance he had of a win was gone. He ended up finishing 20th. So either way, here's the situation. Denny Hamlin has lost a lot of fans because Kyle Larson seems to be a quite popular driver. We saw this before. You wreck Chase Elliott out, it doesn't matter how popular you were before. You wreck Chase Elliott out, you're going to get roundly booed. Denny Hamlin now seems to be wearing, at least for a short period of time, the black hat. And now, ladies and gentlemen, on his soapbox, Matt Nicholson.
All right. You think everybody thinks that I'm about to go scorched earth on Hamlin. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. This is where I disagree with 98%. And I know that's a crazy number, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway because, frankly, I don't care.
Okay.
I disagree with 98% of the people that are complaining, fussing, griping, however you want to, adjective you want to use to fill in the blank that I can't say on this airwaves.
Yeah, it's a family show.
Denny Hamlin has gotten so good at manipulating air that he can get so close to a car, be within literally an inch or two of the car, use that air, and make it look like, oh, it's contact. What people don't realize, and a lot of people fail to realize, is you can take that air and pack it on a car, whether it be on the left rear, left front, whole left side, same thing down the right side. You can take that air and pack it on a car, and when that air makes that car move, it looks like you made contact, but you never touch him. He's gotten so good at using the air that he can make it and he can get close enough to where he can make it look like it was contact, but he doesn't. Second point, said air will shove said car on the outside, whoever it is. If it's me on the bottom and I'm drag racing Steve out of turn 2 down the Long Pond straightaway, I sound like Mike Bagley standing in the tunnel turn talking there. But anyways, if I get on Steve's inside and I can take that air and use that air to my advantage.
Oh, gosh, I'm getting pushed out to the wall in turn 3.
That air is going to put his car in a situation to where he's either got to stay in it or lift.
And I'm probably going to have to lift because turn 3 doesn't have a whole lot of traction unless you hit that perfect strip.
If he stays in it coming out of turn 1, heck, I'm thinking turn 2. Coming out of turn
2,
1,
turn 3, turn 1, doesn't matter.
Coming out of the turn, if he stays in it, guess where that air is shoving him? In the wall.
Yep. Especially at 1 and 3. 2 is one of those tricky deals where if you hit it wrong, if you hit it right, you can still be on the outside. On you and I could be side by side using our example. I could be on the outside. I could still stay off the wall if I go into that turn right. But if I hit it wrong, I'm going to hit the wall regardless of what he does.
Now, if you go and find, there are plenty of images you can see on social media of the right side of Denny Hamlin's car. You take away the white paint that's on the right rear tire where Larson squoze him in the wall down the front stretch.
Yeah.
You take that away, there is not a single scratch nor tire mark on the right side of Hamlin's car. Not a one. So therefore, he got so close that it made it look like he touched him, but he never touched him. He used that air. So therefore, leading me to sit and say, that was a clean move.
And one more note before we go to break here, because we do have to go to break. We're coming up on a time situation, I know.
Yeah.
But we have talked about, ever since this Gen 7 car came into existence, how much NASCAR's been working on the aero side of things. They've been working on getting the air to go under the car much better. That goes back to a Joey Logano situation where he was effectively beached. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they've done so much aero work on the car that once you get two cars side by side like that, they're so aero dependent that it does create the alternate situation like he was just talking about, where that car doesn't have the aero that it needs to stick to the lane that it's in. Boom.
Larson,
in this case, in the wall.
Larson has sufficient room.
So there you go. He just got pushed out by air, effectively.
That's air.
We'll talk Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick. We'll also talk the future of Denny Hamlin. And like we mentioned, Joey Logano had a bit of a problem as well. And we give you the radio side of things, or the in-car audio, but, well, we don't like getting fined by the FCC, so we're not gonna. All that and more coming up next on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show. Steve West, Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers. And, well, from one incident to another here in a moment. First things, on to a little bit better news when it comes to Denny Hamlin, at least when it comes to fan-wise, and what his future leads to. He not only has his own team, partially owning 2311, not 23 by 1, racing, along with Basketball Hall of Famer Michael Jordan, but also still wanted to drive the 11 car for Joe Gibbs Racing, which he has done full-time since 2006. Thing about it is, his contract is actually up at the end of this year. Enter Toyota Racing Development President David Wilson, who said at Pocono after the race and Hamlin's win, quote, "He will be back." There's no question in our mind. There's no question in Joe Gibbs's mind. It's a complicated consideration because now he's not just a driver for Joe Gibbs Racing. He's also a team owner. I know Denny has always wanted to and intends to retire, though, as a driver from Joe Gibbs Racing and continue as a team owner with Toyota. That's certainly our intent, and we're working vigorously to make sure that that, in fact, happens. This, though, does seem somewhat reminiscent of last year when we kept hearing David Wilson say, "We want Kyle Busch." But Joe Gibbs didn't seem as adamant as David Wilson was in keeping him. And lo and behold, this year, Kyle Busch is not driving even a Toyota. He's driving a Chevrolet, Richard Childress Racing.
Don't think they're going to let that scenario ever happen again.
It'd be bad publicity.
Because if you lost Hamlin, look what else you're losing too. You're losing an entire team.
Yeah, because he'll take his 2311 racing team with him wherever the heck he goes.
Patrick Brickman will never live that down.
Nope, sorry, Patrick, you're not. Because I'm going to keep it alive. Then we got Austin Dillon.
Inside quarter.
Austin Dillon got so frustrated at Tyler Reddick after wrecking out of the race that he waited until the 45 car came back around the track at Pocono and then attempted, and I mean that literally, and you can see this is the best picture that I could get, by the way,
inside quarter
of this. Attempted literally to throw his helmet at the 45. Dillon and Reddick were battling for position going into turn one.
Carlo.
Why is it always in the turn one thing at Pocono?
Inside quarter, Carlo.
Dillon was in the middle with Reddick to his low side. Dillon appears to come down.
That's an understatement.
Watch the replay. Am I wrong?
No. Inside quarter, Carlo.
However, Dillon didn't see it that way. He felt as though Reddick was the cause of the wreck. So he decided to take out his frustration by throwing his helmet at Reddick's car before turning around and getting in the waiting safety vehicle to get checked out in the infield care center. By the way, you see this situation right here?
Ballo.
This is a nice little still shot. These guys are at yellow flag caution speed, which at Pocono is?
About 65.
Okay. Can anyone tell me what probably happened here based upon that still shot that you see right there on CRN Live on YouTube?
Just a bit outside.
Yeah. It bounced on the track behind Tyler Reddick's car, and anybody that was behind the 45 had to make sure that they didn't run over the helmet because it would have caused more damage to the car than Austin Dillon's wayward helmet.
Yeah, that was stupid to take about $2,000 and throw it at the racetrack just because you wrecked yourself.
Yeah. So Austin Dillon, number one, you need to learn how to throw. Number two, if I'm grading your throw, I'll give it a 2.5 based on speed, but that's all I can give you. You want a picture-perfect look. I should have grabbed a picture of this. You want a picture-perfect look at a proper throwing of a helmet at another person's car? Let's go back to Tony Stewart throwing at Matt Kenseth and nailing Matt Kenseth's nose dead center.
I was about to say, see Sir Anthony Stewart at Bristol Motor Speedway in the year of our Lord 2012.
Yeah. Tony Stewart hit that perfectly. I mean, right dead center on the car, on the nose of the car, just above the opening for the radiator. I mean, perfectly hit that car.
Correct.
No doubt about it.
Correct.
I don't know what the heck Austin Dillon was thinking. Whatever he was thinking didn't work.
Well, to quote a hit song by Brad Paisley, me neither.
We've seen some other helmet throwing situations. John's kind of looking at some stuff right now when it comes to it. Robbie Gordon going after Michael Waltrip when Michael Waltrip was in the 15 car.
New Hampshire.
The thing about Robbie Gordon was the fact that he was almost run over by the 15 car. He was that close. If you can't hit the car when you're standing literally right next to it, I can't help you. But at least he made contact. Austin Dillon didn't.
Remember these words, Austin. Inside quarter. Car inside. Still there. He's there. All I'm saying.
And you, having heard from some people,
Yeah.
we'll just put it that way, you having heard from some people, you heard that the spotter wasn't just telling him inside. He got more animated.
He was screaming it at him. End of story.
When your spotter starts screaming at you, hey, inside, still there, what are you doing?
Inside quarter. What are you doing? You did it to yourself.
There's the Tony Stewart helmet throw that we were just talking. Where'd you get that, John?
Don't ask me that.
Well, thanks to whoever allowed us to pick that picture up. I mean, right there, that is less than 1 second away from that helmet nailing Matt Kenseth's car straight right in the nose. It was a perfect shot.
Yep.
Austin Dillon, grow up. I'll just leave it that way.
Yep.
Hey, how about another problem? Daniel Suarez, Joey Logano got into each other. Suarez initially had more damage to his car, but he was actually able to drive off and get to the pits to the attendance of his crew. Joey Logano, on the other hand, had all of his tires go flat. And after initially attempting to push the number 22 car, they ended up having to hook it up and tow it back to pit road. Joey Logano was one ticked off dude inside the car. Not safe for work, not safe for kids, but if you want to, I imagine you could probably go somewhere online and find all the in-car audio of this.
Correct. You can.
Here's the problem.
It's hilarious.
Daniel Suarez, Joey Logano accident happens where?
Turn one.
Turn one. Instead of going against the traffic flow to make the trip shorter, the truck hauled the 22 car over 2 miles around the triangle to get to Logano's pit crew. Yeah. Predictably, it didn't make it because the Goodyear Racing Eagles began to come apart, shredded the front fenders of the car, and ladies and gentlemen, Joey Logano's day, kaput. NASCAR Senior Vice President of Competition noted that, said on his weekly Sirius XM satellite radio chat on Tuesday, that NASCAR is aware of this particular problem and they are seeking a solution. Talking about, his name just went right out of my head, Sawyer. Sawyer noted that it would be preferable to load these cars up on a rollback and bring them to pit road, but with the cars already so low to the ground, and then with 4 flats like the Logano had, it makes the Gen 7 car effectively act like a beach whale, so it's pretty problematic to try and get them up onto a rollback. Another solution would be, maybe, to have a safety vehicle have at least 2 new tires in the bed. You could put them on before towing the car away, but Sawyer said that while it was an option, it was an option that's pretty far down the list because he talked about places like Atlanta and Daytona, Talladega, where we get the big one. And how many safety cars are you going to have out there hauling at least 2 tires so that you can put at least 2 tires on a car? It's really not all that viable, at least at those tracks.
Nope.
Sawyer finally admitted that the R&D Center continues to work on a solution that will work. They continue to work. They're not anywhere close, however, to finding said solution.
There's a lot of stuff R&D Center needs to work on.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Again, we talked about the aero situation when it came to this car. They did a lot of work on this aero thing, and they're trying to eliminate as much air going up under the car as they possibly can. But this is an untenable situation. If you flatten all 4 wheels and you're beached, you can't have that. That doesn't work.
Well,
not in my mind, anyway.
When the collective sidewall of the tire goes from used to be about this to About this?
Yeah, as we went from 15 to 18-inch wheels.
Big flipping difference.
It is.
Big difference.
See what, if anything, they can actually figure out when it comes to this.
Yeah.
Legacy MC is further cementing their soon-to-be connection to Toyota. That's right. Don't forget, they're switching over to Toyota next year. We'll talk about that. Spire Motorsports has a crew chief change. Huh? Yeah, they're making a crew chief change right here, right now. And we'll talk some playoff scenarios. Yeah, we're already talking about those when it comes to the Cup Series. But hour one's in the books. We'll deal all that in hour two.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network.
WDNG, 1450 AM
and W236 CQ 95.1 FM, Anniston.
95.1 The Mountain.
Anniston Oxford's classic station.
4 tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in. Hour number 2 underway here. I'm Steve West along with Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers, all of us in studio here on this final weekend in the month of July.
Oh.
This year seems to be flying by.
Yeah.
Or am I the only one?
No, it's flying by.
Okay. I was just checking. Legacy Motor Club further cementing their connection to Toyota. They're going to be switching to Toyota from Chevrolet beginning in 2024. The team has hired Cal Wells III as their new CEO. Wells founded Precision Preparation back in 1979 and actually did field teams into the Cup Series, along with off-road and open-wheel racing during his time as a team owner. When he was done with that, he joined up with Michael Waltrip Racing. Remember them, kids? Stayed there until 2011 when he began his own consulting company, LGNA Consulting. Wells has a relationship with Toyota that dates back to 1982 as well, so that ought to help the transition.
Should.
Cal Wells III bring anything for you to this particular operation?
No.
Okay. Spire Motorsports making a crew chief change. They brought up Kevin Bono Mannion back to the Cup Series. He'll be making the calls on the 77 for Ty Dillon. Dillon sits 32nd in Cup points heading into this weekend, has only 2 top 20 finishes this year. Led the team to say, quote, "We really want that car to get going, and unfortunately, we had to make a change to do it."
So you wait until race number 21 of the season. Oh, we really want that car to get going.
So Kevin Bellecourt ejected. Mannion's in. Mannion brings experience from all 3 of NASCAR's top levels of racing with him. He's called the shots as a crew chief for the likes of drivers of, for example, for producer John, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Jamie McMurray, William Byron. Here's the thing, though. Mannion's also the crew chief for the Spire Motorsports number 7 Chevrolet truck in the Craftsman Truck Series. And that's Mannion's priority. So what does that mean? Well, it means Mannion's going to miss the Daytona race. Because when the Cup Series is in Daytona, which will be their final race of the regular season, remember that, the Truck Series is going to be running a playoff race at the Milwaukee Mile. But for the 77 car, that's the only schedule conflict keeping him from calling the shots for the 77. All right. You and I have talked Ty Dillon. You and I questioned this move. We applauded it, but we questioned it both at the same time.
Because it was to the backwards angle of a lateral move.
Well, here's the thing. Ever since Spire Motorsports got into the Cup Series with the 77 car, it seemed like they were just kind of playing. They kept running driver after driver through the seat, 3, 4, 5 different drivers in the course of a year. We were saying, when are you going to get serious about it and bring a driver in and have him run all season long? They did it for the 7 car with Corey LaJoie, and it seemed to pay dividends. Corey LaJoie got top 20s, top 15s, even a few top 10s.
Threatening for wins in some places.
But they continued to run driver after driver through the 77 car. And it just, again, seemed like that their quote-unquote primary car was what they were playing with. So then they got serious. We're going to bring a full-time driver in. We on this show went, great! Who is it? Ty Dillon?
Huh?
Ty Dillon. Really? So I applaud this move. No disrespect to Kevin Bellecourt. Kevin Bono Mannion's resume is impeccable. It's unquestioned.
Yep.
He can do good things.
Yep.
But how much can he do with Ty Dillon?
Well, he can get the car turned around to where he can see where it's the car or the driver first.
I've got an idea.
Yeah, I've got an idea too. But you got to start there. But about the scheduling conflict, Milwaukee races on Sunday. So, yeah, are you going to just leave the 7 truck parked because you've not been running it full time this year? I would just leave the truck parked.
Apparently they're committed to running it.
With somebody.
Yeah. We'll find out. This weekend at Richmond time, races, all of those running out before the playoffs begin. Got some clinching scenarios for drivers that are not already yet locked in. Obviously, any driver could get in with a win as long as they're racing full time. But considering that there are more than 5 races left, those with only 1 win still could use a little bit of help. All with only 1 win clinch their spot if a driver who has already won wins again. So keep that in mind. Should any of the drivers that we noted earlier as in on points claim a win, only Christopher Bell and Ross Chastain could clinch their playoff spot on points if they get a top 10 finish. Here's the oddball situation. If A.J. Allmendinger wins, with a top 10 finish, Christopher Bell can clinch his spot on points as well. I know it's really early and it's hard to tell the players without a scorecard. So we're not really going to dive into this a whole lot. We'll wait until it becomes a little bit clearer. It's still a very fuzzy picture right now.
Back to the Spire deal.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's a partial result of this new sponsor that's in with Spire. saying like, hey, we got to pick it up all the way around.
Yeah, we should have gotten into this really a little bit more. Probably last week, truth be told, because we talked about, or a couple of weeks ago, I guess, when Gainbridge came on board.
Gainbridge and Group 1001. Group 1001 was on the truck at Mid-Ohio with Marco Andretti. Keyword, Marco Andretti. And Gainbridge on the Cup cars for the next 2 years.
Yeah, and we've talked about this. Andretti Global, as they're changing their name to now, does seem to have the inside line on getting a Formula One team should Formula One all agree to expand. They're in IndyCar, they're in Extreme E, they're in Formula E, they're in sports cars. They basically have their hands in almost everything that they could possibly get their hands in the racing world, except for NASCAR. Could that be changing? Mm-hmm. You and I talked about it when the Gainbridge sponsorship was announced, and now all of a sudden there are other people that are talking about that as well.
Where is it? 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 I'm right here. I'll call it. Here we go. It's from someone that we actually take what they say and like, hey, this may be some truth to it. Adam Stern.
Yes, Sports Business Daily.
Quote, it is not yet clear how the Andretti Spire deal will look after this initial first step, whether it will be a combined outfit or a full rebrand to Andretti Global or some other option.
Hello.
That's when this sponsorship stuff come out in Atlanta. Who in this room sat and said, here's your sign of Spire, here's your sign of Andretti working their way into NASCAR?
That guy right over there.
Because Gainbridge and the Group 1001 brand, which is underneath Gainbridge, the CEO of Gainbridge is a shareholder and a co-owner of Andretti Autosport.
Soon to be full-time Andretti Global.
The defense rests.
On to other things here. Got another picture coming up here for you. Politics mixing with NASCAR. It's not terribly new. We've seen, for example, a Trump for President sponsored car, other notes about political races on racers in varying series. But this one's a little bit newer. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, attempting to lure people and companies to her state, has a program entitled Freedom Works Here. And to help, they're teaming with NASCAR. They've joined with Live Fast Motorsports. Okay. Going to be a primary sponsor of the number 78 Chevrolet, which you can see on CRN Live of YouTube, courtesy of Live Fast. That look is going to run this weekend at Richmond and again at Bristol. And it's I got to say, it's a pretty good-looking car. Mm-hmm. BJ McLeod slated to be the driver in both of those races. Noem said at the car reveal, quote, a lot of momentum. The Freedom Works Here momentum isn't slowing down. In fact, they're about to get a lot faster. I'm talking up to 200 miles per hour fast. Not at Richmond and Bristol, you're not. But, hey, I get your point. These cars are capable of getting up to 200 miles per hour. So, point taken. And she is doing a great job of trying to market her state. I'll give her that.
The only reason people are not complaining about it is because one of the names on the side of the car doesn't start with the letter T and end with the letter P.
That's true.
That's the problem.
Well, it depends on who you listen to, because
True.
there are people who are, let's say, on the other side of the political aisle from Kristi Noem, who has an R at the end of her name, so I'll just leave it at that, who are saying, this is a bad use of our funds. No, if you're trying to actually get people and businesses from across the country to come to your state, you do things like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Some Craftsman Truck Series news here tonight as we air live. As we go to air live here. Richmond race for the Truck Series is the final race of the regular season in the division. We got 7 drivers locked in with wins. Should any of them win, Matt DiBenedetto is in as long as he claims at least 25 points tonight.
I think he's safe.
Nick Sanchez needs 35.
That's a question mark.
Matt Crafton needs 47.
Big question mark due to
which
inconsistency.
means he needs to all but win. He would need second place and stage points.
Mm-hmm.
3 other drivers, Stuart Friesen, Tanner Gray, and Chase Birdie, could lock themselves in with a top 10, preferably a top 5 finish, and if they had help from those other drivers that we just mentioned.
2 out of those 3 will be in.
Should there be a brand new winner tonight,
Which is a possibility.
and assuming it's not any of the drivers we just mentioned, only Matt DiBenedetto and Nick Sanchez could still get in on points. They need 34 and 43, respectively. Matt Kraft and Stuart Friesen could pull off pointing in, but they would need help from DiBenedetto and Sanchez to be able to do it. The other thing to note, Corey Heim can claim the regular season title tonight if he gets at least 19 points.
I think that's a safe one.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. As for the winner at Pocono, you might remember from the recap, it was your moonlighter, Kyle Busch Motorsports, notching their 100th win as a team with that checkered flag. Marked his second win of the year, by the way, in the Craftsman Truck Series action, his 64th Truck Series win of his career. In all, over the 100 wins, 18 drivers have helped Busch's team claim the win, and that does include Corey Heim. So even if Heim had won, it would have marked win number 100 for Kyle Busch Motorsports. But Kyle had to do it himself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Remember us talking just a moment ago about Spire Motorsports on the number 7 truck? Let's talk a little more about it. For the upcoming race, August 11th, Lucas Oil Raceway Park, they have got a driver who is a second-generation racer, Lane Riggs. He's successful in the Cars Late Model Series, got 10 wins there, and as noted, he's a second-generation racer. He's the son of Scott Riggs, who has 9 top-level NASCAR wins to his name, 5 in trucks, 4 in what is now the Xfinity Series. Lane Riggs has a bit of experience in the Truck Series as well. He's run all 3 races. He ran 3 races, I should say, for Hallmark Friesen Racing last year. Claimed a top 10 at Lucas Oil Raceway Park, his best finish. Well, earlier this year, he got into a Young's Motorsport truck at Nashville Superspeedway where he finished 27th, but he's set to drive at Indianapolis Raceway Park in the truck you're about to see on CRN Live on YouTube, courtesy of Spire Motorsports with Infinity as a sponsor. That's a pretty good-looking truck right there. Mm-hmm. Here's my question. Lane Riggs. Cars Late Model Tour, 10 wins. Mm-hmm. Is this a tryout, or is this just an opportunity for him to come back to a track where he did well last year? Let's see if he can repeat the feat.
I'm going to say the latter.
Okay. Just not enough buzz around Lane at this point in time?
There was a decent amount, and then his goof up at Nashville when he does the break off and rolls back up into traffic in the truck.
Oops.
And causes a big pileup. Yeah, he lost a little bit there.
Well, let's see if he learned anything from it. New drivers set to run in the series today as we are live at Richmond. Rayom Brothers Racing has tabbed a late model driver by the name of Derek Lemke to pilot one of their trucks. Lemke is a Minnesota native, so Chi-Town Mark probably knows a little bit more about him than we do. He's been running super late models and races all around the country. He won often, but sponsorship money began to run out, so he then turned his attention to public relations, notably for Natalie Decker. We'll get back to that. Josh Rayom noted Lemke when he began to work with Decker himself and found out, Lemke and Decker are engaged. Sorry for those of you that got a crush on Natalie Decker. Right now, she's off the market. Anyway, Rayom's going to give Lemke a chance to race against her and the other trucks in the competition at the Virginia Short Track later today. Derek Lemke, what do you know about him?
0. Only thing I know about him is I've raced against him on iRacing a few times.
Okay, and?
He's
Okay.
Yeah.
Impressed, are we?
Considering he's in a truck that's 3 seconds off the pace.
Rayom Brothers, yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And, he's Natalie Decker's NASCAR wife, as they call it, the spouse. But, all you see on social media, I'm so excited to finally be a NASCAR wife. Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
Do it. Yeah, that's all she said on her social media. I don't care.
Yeah, no.
Get in a truck that is actually on pace with the field, then call me tomorrow morning over breakfast, and we'll talk about it.
There you go. How about this one? Caden Honeycutt going to get at least 4 more starts this season for Nice Motorsports in their part-time truck, the number 44. Honeycutt told FrontStretch.com he believes the races are going to be at Indianapolis Raceway Park and Homestead, Miami, with the other 2 yet to be determined. Honeycutt began the season at Roper Racing and then left them after 6 races. One of those did not qualify. He did run 2 races for Young Motorsports and then hooked up with Nice. Again, with these 4 races, assuming all 4 of them go off, that'll be at least 5, maybe 6 before the end of the year with Nice. Mm-hmm. This is him leaving Roper, which you had a full-time ride. We kind of questioned it at the time. He kind of fell upstairs a little bit. I mean, I'm sorry, Roper, but I kind of think Nice is a step up from you. But it is a part-time truck. This is Caden looking for that better opportunity, and he decided to jump out of the plane with not knowing whether the parachute was going to work. And so far, it seems like it has.
It has.
All right.
It has.
Big Hoss is about to get bigger. The heck is Big Hoss, and what's going to make it bigger? We'll detail it next, right here on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. Two tires only, and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Well, sports facilities around the country seem to love to one-up each other, and when it comes to having the biggest things for fans, rarely does anybody outdo Texas. So, well, for example, they were the first to have a huge TV that was put up along the backstretch. It actually was so big it made it into the Guinness Book of World Records when it was installed and started working back in 2014. But other tracks and other facilities have caught up. So, Texas Motor Speedway is upgrading Big Hoss, as they call it. It's going to get bigger. 10% bigger, to be more exact, with 22% more pixels than before, so it'll give the screens, the officials say, 20% better resolution than before. The new TV screen will now come in at a rather piking 22,692 square feet.
So we're going to basically 25,000 square feet.
Sure. It will be in place and be ready for fans to experience blindingly during the playoff weekend, September 23rd and 24th. The Xfinity and the Cup Series will be there.
Oh, I can say it's definitely bright.
That thing's huge. huge.
Yeah, it's definitely bright. I mean, it was kind of blinding at the All-Star race I went to in 21 out there. It's yeah. So
It's
what's 2,000 more feet gonna hurt?
Sure. Pretty soon they'll just cover the whole backstretch and start to curve it around turns 2 and 3.
Stop, Steve, because they'll do it.
I dare you. Go for it. Superstar Racing Experience. We noted that it was Joseph Garden's weekend, as has been this year on IndyCar on ovals. He's won all the oval tracks in the IndyCar series to date, but why stop there? So he decided to come back to SRX to drive the number 2 car at Pulaski County Motorsports Park, otherwise known at Motor Mile Raceway, on Thursday. Unfortunately for him, he finished a disappointing 11th. He never seemed terrifically comfortable in that car.
No, he really wasn't. I mean, it was a completely different scenario versus when we saw him at Fairgrounds a few years ago.
Yeah.
Versus last night.
I would agree.
A fish out of water.
Yeah, I would agree. I've probably asked this before. I'll ask it again just to be curious. Do you think it's easier for a driver, as a general rule?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not talking about specifics. Tony Stewart was able to do it seemingly with ease. But as a general rule, do you think it's easier for a driver to go from stock car racing background to IndyCar or IndyCar racing background to stock cars?
I'm going to say stock car to IndyCar.
Okay.
Because you know the limitations of your car with the fenders, and then you can see the tires with IndyCar. Mm-hmm. You know your limitations easier.
There you go. Then there's this saga from Thursday night. There's Ken I'll Drive Anything Anywhere Schrader, who apparently will do that unless Paul Tracy's involved. He talked to ESPN after the race on Thursday, declared, quote, "I'm not racing another race with him. I'm done," referring to the former IndyCar champion, and was talking about a heated battle for position between the two, of which the NASCAR veteran got the worst of it. As noted in the recap, he finished last in the 12-car field. The pair were side by side. They kind of made contact. They kept running side by side, and they kept beating and banging on each other until they hit the checkered flag. Ticked Schrader off, prompted the declaration, and it prompted series co-founders Tony Stewart and Ray Evernham to go and meet with both drivers. They were pushing the pair to begin to work it out. We didn't know, as of Friday morning into the afternoon, whether they could convince Schrader, who was slated at the beginning of the year, to run all 6 races to continue as planned. And then last night, the SRX Series put out a statement, which you're about to see on CRN Live on YouTube, and I'll turn it over to Matt to talk more about.
As you can see where the statement says, quote, "The Superstar Racing Experience has announced an immediate suspension of driver Paul Tracy in relation to yesterday's on-track incident at Pulaski County Motorsports Park. Quote, we take issues regarding driver safety extremely seriously at SRX," said SRX Chief Executive Officer Don Hawk. "This is not a decision we take lightly. It is our responsibility to ensure that we foster a competitive and, more importantly, a safe racing environment. I have been in contact with Paul directly, and we appreciate his cooperation in this matter," end quote. I don't think it's more of an issue with the on-track incidents, because here's why I say that. It's short-track racing. You're going to have those.
Sure.
I think it's more the issue that he has effectively totaled 3 cars in 2 races. His car, Schrader's car, and Brad Keselowski's primary, because Brad Keselowski had to go to a different car Thursday night.
And Ken Schrader, if we know anything about Ken, he won't put up with that kind of stuff for long.
And the one thing that Tony Stewart and Don Hawk have made it clear that they have, you've used your imaginary adjective in this blank about fussed, griped, or whatever word you want to use for that.
Sure.
Tearing race cars up.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have 1 week, 4 or 5 days, let's say at the low end, to turn a car around.
Yeah, because you got to remember,
next event.
They got to load them up, and they got to start traveling. In this case, they came from Connecticut to Virginia. Now they got to go Virginia to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be able to load them up. You got to deal with the transport time, the unloading time, and then the setup.
Yeah.
So it's not like you got a full week. You got a much more limited amount of time to be able to rebuild those cars. They don't build 20 to 30 of those cars for a season.
They have 13. I think they have 18 total cars. 17 or 18. And if you destroy 3, you're down to 15, which only leaves you effectively in any given week 2 backup cars.
So John still has the pictures up on CRN Live of YouTube, courtesy of Superstar Racing Experience. I don't know where he got the picture of Paul Tracy. It doesn't really matter. The important part is the little Ghostbusters little no sign through it. We know he's suspended for one race, at least.
I'm pretty sure he's going to be suspended for the rest of the year.
It seems likely. Now comes the question of who do we get to fill in? That's going to be the fun part to watch. We don't know. They haven't announced it, but we'll keep you updated.
Well, a name that has surfaced and is gaining some serious, I would say serious traction.
Matt Nicholson. Oh.
I know I could find my way to Berlin, Michigan.
I'm sure you could.
I know my way to Eldora. I can find my way to Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri.
Oh, that's right, too. Sorry.
The dirt track.
That
the
Lucas
dirt
Oil.
track.
Yeah.
The dirt track.
That
Not
Lucas
the
Oil,
asphalt
not the
track.
other one.
The dirt track.
Yeah.
I know my way there. But Tony, I wear a size 58 Sparko suit, size 58 Alpine Star suit. Take that for a note. Hawk, take that for a note as well.
Anyway,
but
who
the
are you
name
hearing
that has
noise
gotten
about?
traction, Jeremy Mayfield.
That'd be interesting. National Hot Rod Association news. We noted Steve Torrence claimed his first win of the 2023 season. Kind of hard to fathom considering how dominant he's been over the last, 5 or 6 years. But in the process of that first win, he also claimed a milestone win for Toyota in the NHRA. They've now got 200 wins in the Camping World Drag Racing Series competition. Big highlight for the company and for Torrence to claim that. Congratulations. McLeod Racing, not BJ McLeod Racing. That's NASCAR. This is NHRA McLeod Racing. They're breaking out a guy who has been in and around the NHRA for, 40 years. He's going to drive their funny car this weekend in Pomona. That's later. Sonoma. Paul Lee. Lee brings race title sponsor Denso with him as one of his sponsors and a new one-race sponsor in Zern LK Water Solutions. That's a local company out in California. You can see the car on CRN Live, courtesy of the NHRA. Lee is probably actually better known as a team owner right now, but he does love to get in the car, drive in selected events. Came into 2023 with the brand new, some of the newest Dodge bodies, new clutch package, new co-crew chiefs in Dustin Heim and Jason Bunker. I would assume all of them are coming with him over to McLeod Racing. He has run some selected races this year. Lee himself has scored 153 points, but he's 15th in the funny car standings and currently sits 355 points outside of the top 10 in the division. So that tells you, again, he is only part-time. But, yeah, he's going to get that chance to drive that particular car. We'll see how well he does. It's kind of his background. He lives out in that area, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Also, for those of you that if you're a true NHRA fan, you might remember the name Tim Gibbons. Gibbons has been away from the driver's seat in the Camping World Drag Racing Series now for half a decade, but that ends this weekend, and he's set to climb into the Deal Racing Funny Car, bringing sponsorship from Big Time Pest Control, which is a local company for Napa Valley in California. You can see that car coming up on CRN Live on YouTube, courtesy of the team. Gibbons' last time behind the wheel, season finale of 2017. But he's been busy since. He started a company called Castle Rock Trucks, a company he turned around and sold in 2019. Then formed a new company that built charging stations for Tesla and Electrify America up in Northern California. Remember, the state has decided that they're not going to allow gas vehicles or diesel-powered vehicles to be sold in the state once we get to 2030. Good luck with that. Anyway, he's also just started a new restaurant. It's called Whiskey Town Barbecue and Brewing, which has one location at this time in Redding, California, but I did a little research on it. It's got a lot of good press. Maybe he'll look to franchise it. But in the meantime, he's going to race this weekend. He said of the chance, quote, "At no time did I ever stop thinking about getting back in the seat of a funny car. It's just one of those things. It's a disease for which there's no cure." I don't think he's looking for one either because, as any driver would tell you, it might be a disease, but I don't want the cure.
Yeah, absolutely.
IndyCar news here as we kind of run through things here. Time's running out. It's hard to believe how fast this show is going. 5 races left in the 2023 NTT IndyCar season means that there are the potential for 270 points for any one driver, assuming you could sweep them all. Good luck. It means technically that the top 13 in the standings are still in play for the season title. But then realism sets in. It seems at most It's about a 3-horse race. You got Alex Palou, who's leading by 80 points over Joseph Newgarden. You got Scott Dixon trailing by 120. I'd say more likely it's probably, unless Scott Dixon just goes on a ridiculous tear that I'm not seeing yet, it seems more likely a duel between Palou and the 2-time IndyCar champion Joseph Newgarden when it comes to the title. But by all means, disagree if you will. I'll take that as a no.
Yeah.
NBC into coverage of both IndyCar, which they have the rights all season long, and of course NASCAR. Let's start with IndyCar. Their coverage of IndyCar seems to be paying dividends for both NBC and their cable partners USA, noting that their coverage of the doubleheader from Iowa on USA was actually up 31% in viewership over last year's coverage of the same race, averaging 1.121 million people watching over the course of both races. Saturday, a little bit more, 1.145 million. Sunday, 1.092 million. This season to date, between races airing on NBC and USA, they're averaging 1.512 million people per race, and that is the most watched season for IndyCar on television since 2016. And that year, they were split between ABC and NBC.
That's not a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing at all. Things seem to be on the up and up there. We've been talking about the ratings. The monster in motorsports in the United States of America is NASCAR, specifically the Cup Series. Cup Series averages any given weekend between 2.5 and 3 million people per race. It sometimes goes a little lower, depending on the race. Depending on the race, it sometimes goes a little higher. Daytona 500, for example, we got north of 8 million people. Cup Series is the monster. After that, it's kind of a 3-way battle. But IndyCar is starting to cement themselves in that second place position, battling really with Formula One there on ESPN and ABC at about 1.25 to 1.5 million people per race. And then the Xfinity Series comes in. We'll get to that here in a second. The networks, like mentioned, just covering NASCAR's Cup and Xfinity Series, report viewership is up there year over year as well, up 8% for the Cup Series. Pocono race up 4% for the Xfinity Series race at the same racetrack. Cup Series race pulled in 2.262 million people. Xfinity, 964,000. Cup Series on NBC averaging 2.887 million people per race. That's their highest since 2018. Xfinity on NBC up 9% over last year, averaging 950,000 per race. That is NHRA levels, Camping World Drag Racing Series finals levels. And that does include their coverage live on the Fox network. Mm-hmm. So your hierarchy, again, Cup, Formula One, and IndyCar battling it out for second place, Xfinity and NHRA battling it out for fourth place.
Correct.
And it ain't a bad thing.
Nope.
Because those numbers, they're all trending up.
Yep.
It's good for us. Last year, after the regular season ended, IndyCar and Juncos Hollinger Racing went to Argentina for an exhibition. You might remember that. That's how actually we got Agustin Canapino to become a rookie in the IndyCar series this year. Well, this year, there's a possibility of doing yet another exhibition and traveling even further to do it, like down under to Australia. The annual Bathurst Invitational will feature a class called the Open Wheel Cavalcade. It's their words, not mine. They've got a maximum of 10 invitees. It's kind of an open invite amongst different series. So they've sent out invitations to Formula One, IndyCar, and several other open wheel series around the world. But again, only 10 will be allowed. First come, first served. While no invites have been made official, there is interest notably from defending IndyCar champion Will Power, who is an Aussie native. He'd love to be able to go back and drive his Team Penske entry around the famed Mount Panorama course, which I've had the chance to drive a version of it on Gran Turismo. Man, that's not an easy course. Anyway, he noted he's actually the only Aussie in IndyCar. Pointed out that his cohort, Scott McLaughlin, Scott Dixon, they're actually from New Zealand. They're Kiwis. So he thinks that means he should be the one to do it. The event will take place November the 11th and the 12th, so that has no effect on this season when it comes to IndyCar because their season ends in September. But here's the other thing. It appears very unlikely that it would be his current IndyCar ride or any driver's current IndyCar ride for that matter. Speculation has them breaking out a car that was sent to Australia for some demonstration runs over a decade ago. A 2011 Dallara chassis with the codename IR07. It's never actually raced. It's only a demonstration car, and it's stayed in the country ever since then. No word for when an entry needs to be confirmed. So I don't know whether or not this is going to happen, but if you're asking me, this is the prime opportunity. IndyCar keeps talking about wanting to expand, maybe not a points race, but having the series go somewhere to South America and put on a race, even if it's just an exhibition form. You want to continue to expand your net and grow your net a little wider and a little wider. You got 3 drivers that are from Australia and New Zealand. This is a prime opportunity for you to show off down under. Do it. Do it now. We'll be back on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, we are, and we're into Formula One action. They're about to be in action. This is another one of those sprint race weekends here. Mm-hmm. That begins right about the time we get off the air?
Yep.
Okay. Maybe. Maybe. That's true. Foreshadowing. By producer John. Formula One officials, first of all, as we get into the news here, have decided, with the urging of the drivers, to keep the tire blankets a little bit longer. Pirelli's been working to introduce a new race tire that would allow the series to ban the use of the electric tire warmers beginning next year. They did accomplish that with the wet weather tires, but they haven't really done it with the slicks yet. So Pirelli's going to continue to work with it, and all the F1 teams have agreed and voted to push back the ban on the tire blankets for at least one more season. As we noted in the recap, Red Bull claimed, not surprisingly, yet another win. So far this year, they have swept all 11 races run, claiming the season finale of 2022 as well. That means they've won 12 races in a row, and that is a new Formula One record that broke the record of 11 straight set by McLaren back in 1988. But here's the thing. McLaren, back in 1988, claimed those 11 straight to kick off the season. So Red Bull can now break that record. Red Bull has tied McLaren for the number of wins to kick off a year, and again, likely to be broken this weekend in Belgium because Max Verstappen's on the pole for the race. Again. I know we're all shocked.
But there's a caveat to that.
We'll get to that. Max Verstappen becomes the fifth driver in Formula One history to claim 7 wins in a row as well. He joins the likes of Alberto Ascari, Michael Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel, and Nico Rosberg. No, Sir Lewis Hamilton did not turn that trick. In getting their 2 drivers on the podium, Verstappen with the win and Sergio Perez, his teammate, placing third, Checo. Red Bull now has 250 podium finishes in their relatively short history. The win also marked the 44th win of Max Verstappen's young career. Yikes. Kid is just killing it. Over at Ferrari, they don't like what's going on. So they said, you know what? We're going to switch things up. Let's get a new sporting director. Now, they have ejected Laurent Mekies, who was set to leave the organization at the end of the season anyway. So tell you what, see ya now. And we're going to go get AlphaTauri's team principal in waiting. Well, that's what Mekies is anyway. He's AlphaTauri's team principal in waiting. In other words, he's set to take over what is a dumpster fire. And they're going to bring in somebody new. And the name has just totally left me. Sorry. Either way, Diego Ioverno joined Ferrari in the 2019 season. During that time has claimed 9 wins, but for the Tifosi, as they're called, the Ferrari faithful, it's just not enough. The team continues to stare up Mercedes and now Red Bull, both teams basically taking their lunch money on the Formula One playgrounds. So for the remainder of this year, trying to see if he can get the interim removed from the sporting director title, Diego Ioverno, he has been with Ferrari for 23 years and inherits a team that has no wins this year and actually has only 2 podium finishes, and both of those were attained by Charles Leclerc. They sit 4th in the standings. Well back. Even of 3rd place, Mercedes. I'm sorry, Mercedes is 2nd place. Even of 3rd place, Alpine. The other A. Aston Martin. Them. There's too many A's. So, yeah, I don't know. They're going to be battling, and they're going to have to battle hard because Aston Martin, yeah, they've cooled off, but they came out like a house on fire this year.
Yeah.
Ferrari has just been lukewarm all year long.
Yep. That's an understatement.
Now, I know as the old saying goes when it comes to tortoise and the hare, slow and steady wins the race. So, yeah, I guess they could overtake Aston Martin. I honestly don't think they got a chance to be able to catch, much less overtake Mercedes.
No.
2nd place is done. In 1st place, forget it. Nobody's got a chance at that. That's Red Bull. Well, not to be outdone, Alpine looked at what Ferrari did and said, hold my beer. After this weekend's race, they're going to part ways with their team principal, Otmar Szafnauer, and their sporting director, Alan Permane. They called it by mutual agreement. In other words, hey, you two, agree to quit or you're fired. Okay, we'll quit. Szafnauer has only been with Alpine for about 18 months. He led the team to the 4th place finish in the Constructors' Cup in 2022, but they have fallen to 6th this season, and they have no hope of climbing any higher than 5th, and they're about 40 points behind 5th, so that would be a pretty good reach as well. Permane, on the other hand, leaves the organization after having worked for them for 34 years in varying roles. Bruno Famine, who just took over as the vice president at Alpine Motorsports, will take on the role of interim team principal when Formula One comes back from their August break, unless he decides over their break that somebody else can take on the role. Alpine Driver Academy Director Julian Rouse will take on the role of interim sporting director. And oh, yes, there's Matt Harmon. He comes in to lead the tech department. The reason for Harmon to come in is because Pat Fry has left Alpine of his own accord. Rats jumping off the ship?
Either that or good old Ryan Reynolds is coming in and with a broom and saying, all right, we're changing the course, boys.
Could be. Pat Fry, anyway, has left as head of the tech department. He's going over to Williams. He will join them on November the 1st. He will assume the role of the Williams chief technical officer. The team has not had a person in that role at Williams since Patty Lowe left the team at the end of the 2019 season. This announcement backs up what Williams team principal James Voles commented about last month when he said he had a new chief technical officer already set, but at the time he couldn't announce who it was. Now we know. It's Pat Fry. So Alpine is changing up the entire hierarchy as they get ready to go into the August break.
Well, all we can do is just see where it goes.
Good luck.
That's yeah.
Spa-Francorchamps is a classic racetrack. Has been in Formula One for a very long time. It's got a very unique outlook. You're about to see a picture on CRN Live on YouTube. This is what they call the Eau Rouge portion of the track. It's a nice little S-corner switchback, if you will. And there's rain in the forecast at Spa. And there's some thinking that Formula One might bow to some pressure. We don't know from who specifically, but due to this rain, not race. The teams and the drivers arrived on Thursday. It was racing. It was slated to rain all weekend long. It rained yesterday during practice and qualifying. It's slated to rain today and tomorrow. And again, to add to that drama, as we noted at the beginning of this segment, it's a sprint race weekend, with that sprint about to begin right as we get off the air. You might remember this is the race 2 years ago that Formula One began the race, ran 2 laps behind the safety car, and then the officials said, you know what? No, we're not going to do it. We're calling the race half points. Fans weren't happy. Media wasn't all that particularly happy either. Spa is a tricky course. Again, this particular area is just one aspect of it. There are safety concerns for the drivers, one of the biggest being visibility. The drivers all claim you can't see anything at Spa when it's raining. The other is this portion of the course right there, switchback set of corners where you start by going downhill, take a sweeping left, and then a quick switchback to the right going uphill. It's very fast. That's, by the way, picture courtesy of ScuderiaFans.com. Some people have the idea that maybe you straighten that area out, kind of eliminate the curves, but there's no consensus amongst the drivers on that idea. Some drivers are against it. It does seem that a majority of the drivers are actually against the idea of changing anything about it. Long story short, too late, I know. We don't know yet if today's sprint race is going to run. We don't know yet whether tomorrow's race will actually run.
The sprint race is going to the grid right now. They're running it.
It seems likely, but hey, again, they went 2 laps under caution 2 years ago and then said, no, we're not going to run it.
Well, it just started to rain on the course. So it was dry.
Okay.
So it just tried to rain, but starting to rain a little bit because they showed a photo of Lewis Hamilton's car going out on the reds.
Yeah, that'll be changed quickly. By the way, should they get it all in, there'll be a modicum of drama for Red Bull about continuing the streak that we just talked about moments ago. Max Verstappen, who again did claim the pole on Friday, he's going to have to start 6th. Seems the team had to change out his gearbox for the 5th time this year. That's a no-no. 4 is the most they allow. Once you get past that, you start accruing penalties, which in this case is a 5 grid spot penalty to start the race.
Shucks.
Darn. He has to work for it. What a shame. As for last weekend in Hungary, the post-race celebration turned into, well, a minor tragedy. Lando Norris finished 2nd, so he's up on the podium, along with the 2 Red Bull drivers. He began his celebration by spraying the champagne around, and in the process, actually and accidentally knocked over Max Verstappen's race-winning trophy, which you're about to see on CRN Live on YouTube, courtesy of GrandPrix247.com. That's the actual broken trophy. Caused damage to the base, obviously, and a little bit to the top as well. Norris tried to joke about it, said it was Max's fault for leaving it, quote unquote, too close to the edge. After a couple of days, he realized that joke fell real flat and kind of did some patchwork. Quote, first of all, I do want to apologize for it. I obviously had no intention of doing such a thing. Of course, I want to enjoy the time celebrating on the podium, but it was never in my intention to do so and do such a thing. So I do, and I have apologized to Max. I know I made a couple of jokes about it, which maybe I shouldn't have, but I do feel bad. If he did it to my trophy, I'd be annoyed. The trophy is handcrafted in Hungary. It's valued at $45,000. Well, not that one.
Oof.
That one's worth a little less. I think they're working on a replacement. If not, I can get you some Gorilla Glue. After a couple of races running with a data collector and not claiming any points in any of them, Haas F1 says they're set to continue to develop the car as they planned, while continuing to track down the biggest weaknesses of their racers. Right now, the biggest weakness is the fact that you are running through tires like there's no tomorrow. Team principal Gunther Steiner said that while some work has been done already on the 2024 cars, he doesn't really yet know when Haas F1 is set to return their attention solely to them. Isn't that his job as the team principal to know that?
Yeah.
I was just checking.
Yeah. It is.
All right. I thought so, but I wanted to double check.
Oy vey.
Haas F1 started the 2023 season off pretty well. They scored points in 3 of the first 5 races of the year. But other than a top 8 finish in a sprint race earlier this year, they haven't scored points since, despite regularly qualifying at least one of their cars inside the top 10. Steiner says, though he does see some positive signs, quote, in Hungary, the result looked worse than it was because we weren't far from our competitors. We were still behind. It's not fantastic, but it's in the right direction. To say whether it was the updates that gave the performance or whether it was track specific, it's very difficult to judge because of how mixed up the teams are getting and how close things are. It's hard to come to a definitive conclusion about whether an update works. Our upgrade was small, as we all know, but what it promised to do, it did. It just wasn't enough. No, it wasn't. Because you weren't really anywhere close to points, Gunther.
Oh.
And again, it's kind of your job to know when you're turning the page to 2024. Can you still do work to the 2023 car? Yeah, you got the entire August break. You got about a month after this weekend to figure out what's going on and why your cars are eating tires like no other team on the Formula One grids are.
Downforce, baby. Downforce.
Then we turn our attention over to Formula E to wrap things up because, as we noted, this is the final race weekend for them of the season. And at about 11 o'clock our time, noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time, the final race, the first of the 2 final races in London will begin on CBS. Yeah, the main network. Porsche decided to go single-seater racing back in 2019 when they joined Formula E with an announced 5-year commitment. That commitment is set to be up after season 10. In other words, about a year from right now. But Porsche says, we're not done yet. Joining with Tag Heuer as the title sponsor of the team, they've said that they're going to remain committed to Formula E at least through the end of this generation of the racer. We're into the 3rd generation of Formula E racers. Formula E's already announced plans for Generation 4. That'll begin in Season 13. So they've committed through Season 10 previously, add 2 more years to it. So at least 3 more years for Porsche, they say. Right now, they're enjoying their most successful season. They led team points for several weeks earlier this year, and Antonio Felix da Costa claims 4 wins so far this year. Pascal Wehrlein has a shot at the title. Mm-hmm. So we'll see whether or not they're going to stick around long term, unlike Mercedes, who said, hey, we'll come in. Came in, swooped in, grabbed a couple of titles. We're done.
Yep.
They didn't even set a 5-year commitment. They just said, hey, we won a couple of titles. We've done everything we can. We're out. Okay, whatever. Final note of the weekend here. A lot of people have been talking about the whole AI situation. And AI has obviously been somewhat controversial, since, I don't know, the Terminator. But I guess there are some good things about it. McLaren's title partner, NOEM, worked together with input from both of their drivers, Renee Rast and Jake Hughes, and came up with a special paint scheme that you're about to see on CRN Live of YouTube, courtesy of the team itself. It's a scheme they're going to run this weekend in both races. They're going to use, again, input from the teams and the drivers, and taking that, no one put all the information into a computer, and artificial intelligence spat out the look that you see right there. You got a base bare carbon fiber look, takes the McLaren papaya orange and blue colors, and then mixes in some red and some gray and creates that look that you see right there, which to me looks kind of busy. I wouldn't want to drive it all year. So for me, I kind of give this one a failing grade overall, but producer John seems to like it. Hey, it ain't my car. I'm not the one driving it. John, you said you liked it.
It's okay.
That's a resounding compliment.
I'll drive it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I drive it too, but I don't know if I'd want to drive it all year.
I drive it all year. I don't care.
Give me a car. I don't care. So there you go. That's the situation that we're dealing with. And wow, we've come to an end of another show. But we got everything in. Thank you much for checking us out. Don't forget to check us out live on all the social medias. X. Still not used to that. Facebook.
On that subject.
Oh,
I'm going to make a plea to Elon Musk real quick on this channel and this station. When you have another tab open on your browser and you look at the top and it says just home and X and the little black square, it looks too much like you have an adult site opened up. Please change that to where it looks more like social media.
Good luck. So anyway, we're on all the social medias, the big ones anyway. And of course, we have our website, which is, go to it anytime you want to, by the way, crnradio.us. Make sure it's US, not .com, not .net, .us. And of course, CRN Live on YouTube. Check it out, subscribe, and if you have already, tell a whole bunch of friends. We'll talk to you next weekend.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
WDNG 1450 AM.